Separate vacations and separate lives to some extent. Years ago, this would have been considered controversial, but now it's just sensible. Separate bedrooms as a matter of a long-standing royal tradition, separate holidays as a matter of preference.
What, in their very late 70s, Queen pushing towards 80, nothing's going to change. And if people think they live the lives that normal, ordinary people do, that they...
Behind the polished public image of King Charles and Queen Camilla sits a marriage built on something most couples would never accept: separate bedrooms, separate holidays, and separate houses. For years, royal watchers have noticed the pattern: Charles vanishing to Scotland while Camilla heads to Greece, weekends spent at different addresses, and a bedroom arrangement tied directly to a health condition the king has never spoken about publicly. Reporters who have covered this couple for decades insist there's nothing sinister going on, yet the details, once laid out clearly, reveal just how unconventional royal marriage really is behind closed palace doors. What actually keeps this relationship together while the two live so far apart, so often, is a story most people have never heard in full. Split holidays and lives lived apart, at least to a point. Not long ago, people would have called this shocking, but today it just seems reasonable. Sleeping in different rooms is treated as an old royal habit, and taking trips on their own is simply what suits them. It looks a bit strange from the outside, yet it clearly suits the pair, and there's no point judging it. The king deals with sleep apnea, which is the real reason the couple don't share a bed. Whoever claims this points to a coming split has it wrong. That's not where this is headed. So what's actually behind the reports that Charles and Camilla now lead almost entirely separate lives?
It's from sleep apnea, so they're not sleeping together for obvious reasons, I think, most of the time, because he's got a mask on most of the time at night, like he's flying a 40,000 feet. But they are. It's not going to happen.
What is the truth about these claims that King Charles and Queen Camilla are now living completely separate?
Robert Jobson, a veteran royal journalist who has tracked this couple for years and first broke news of their engagement, has followed the marriage closely from the start. Much of the recent buzz began after mainstream outlets picked it up, including Dan Wakefield, once an editor at People and Us Weekly, who admitted the king and queen do keep separate holidays and separate bedrooms, but insisted that's simply what a sensible, modern marriage looks like.
As well.
They are, but they also live quite independent lives, and I don't think it affects their relationship at all. In fact, they've lived for, obviously they've been married for a very long time now, but they've also lived apart. They've been a couple but lived apart for long periods of their life.
The neighbour's house at Ray Mills, so that there was more, she had more space, probably also for the security. So look, this is...
Picture this. Charles is off painting by himself up in Balmoral, while Camilla is soaking up the sun in Greece. Separate breaks, separate routines, to some degree. Years back this might have raised eyebrows, but now it just reads as sensible for a marriage that works. Every summer for decades, Charles retreats into his usual Scottish routine: painting, walking, finding a kind of quiet that a working monarch almost never gets elsewhere. Camilla, meanwhile, heads off on her own path, spending time in Greece, the way she does every year. It's become such a normal part of their relationship that nobody blinks anymore, though it's still worth noting because it reveals something genuine about how this pairing actually functions. Charles and Camilla wed back in 2005, following one of the most closely watched courtships in recent royal memory, and 2 decades on, they still handle things their own way. Separate rooms as long-standing royal custom, separate trips simply as personal taste.
Separate vacations and separate lives to some extent. Years ago, this would have been considered controversial, but now it's just sensible. Separate bedrooms as a matter of a long-standing royal tradition, separate holidays as a matter of preference.
Well, nothing has changed since they started, in all honesty. When I broke the story back in 2005, one scoop of the ear with it, Charles is very...
It isn't only holidays spent apart, weekends are split too. Rebecca English, the Daily Mail's senior royal correspondent, tried to explain this in comments that ended up spreading widely online. Camilla often opts to spend her weekend time at her own residence, Ray Mill House, while Charles tends to be at Sandringham or close by at Highgrove. This left plenty of people online wondering aloud why the couple choose to be apart on weekends, and why Camilla so often stays away from her husband. English's answer was that the two are together plenty as well, but they also each keep a fair amount of independence, and none of it hurts their bond. They've been married a long while, but they've also spent stretches of their lives apart before, so this pattern feels familiar to them. Ray Mill was purchased privately by Camilla following her split from her first husband, Andrew Parker Bowles, which makes it essentially her own family home. English admits this arrangement can look unusual to outsiders, but says she's stopped passing judgment on it. Questions came up over whether Camilla would hang on to this property once she married Charles, since keeping it means covering the cost of extra security. But she made it clear she wasn't giving it up. It's a genuine escape for her, relaxed and unpretentious, where her children and grandchildren come to visit. Meanwhile, the king enjoys pottering about his own garden, doing dry stone wall repairs at Highgrove, and getting on with his own pursuits. He does visit Ray Mill sometimes, though rarely, and it's mainly where Camilla keeps her dogs through the week. It functions as her personal retreat. Yes, it looks slightly odd to onlookers, but it clearly works for the two of them. Often, when returning from royal duties abroad and landing at the RAF base in Breeze Norton, Oxfordshire, two separate cars will be waiting. The couple share a quick kiss, a farewell of "see you after the weekend, love," and then head off in different directions. And somehow, that arrangement suits them fine. Operating under constant pressure means you need outlets that keep things manageable, and a bit of distance helps with that. It's an uncommon setup, not merely living together, but working together too, and that combination brings its own strain. They've simply figured out a rhythm that suits them. Camilla's grandchildren also need a place that feels entirely their own, somewhere to be loud and free. At Windsor, or inside a palace, there's always a worry about knocking over something valuable or not being allowed to kick a ball around. But at Granny's house, kids can wear jeans, run wild, and skip the formalities of titles altogether. Royal author Robert Hardman has described this pattern as a kind of decompression. During the pandemic lockdowns, English once conducted a phone interview with Camilla, then still Duchess of Cornwall, about domestic abuse, arranged through the palace press office. It was obvious Camilla was calling from Ray Mill at the time. A horse could be heard passing outside, which set the dog barking, prompting Camilla to say, "Excuse me, Winnie, be quiet." According to Jobson, nothing about this dynamic is new. Back in 2005, when he first broke the engagement story, Charles was already known as a fiercely independent man, and Camilla's decision to hold on to Ray Mill House reflected the fact that the couple had lived fairly separate lives from the very beginning of their relationship. Jobson also notes that Charles recently spent several £1 million expanding Ray Mill by purchasing the house next door, giving Camilla extra room, likely partly for security reasons. This pattern, he says, has been in place for a very long time. Jobson also revealed in his own book that the king has sleep apnea, which is the actual reason the couple don't share a bedroom most nights. Charles wears a breathing mask that, as Jobson jokes, makes it sound like he's cruising at high altitude. Beyond that, the couple have always kept separate hobbies and interests. Camilla has long favoured trips to the Greek islands, a habit going back to when the two were a couple but not yet married. Charles, meanwhile, gravitates to Highgrove and currently spends time at Balmoral, a place Camilla reportedly isn't fond of at all. She prefers staying at Birkhall instead. Charles, since taking the throne, has grown to genuinely enjoy Balmoral, surrounded by staff and extended family. So, this setup is simply what functions for the two of them. Whatever rumours suggest a split is coming, Jobson insists that isn't going to happen. The truth, he says, is that both are well into their late 70s, with Camilla approaching 80, and nothing about their arrangement is likely to shift now. Many assume the couple live like any ordinary older pair, cuddled up watching television together in the evenings, and to some extent, they do. But their day-to-day existence is still fundamentally different from most people's and hard for outsiders to fully grasp. Jobson suggests Charles, who is very much a loner by nature, might actually be better suited to living alone altogether. Still, the couple do share time watching television before Camilla heads to her own house and Charles turns in for the night. It might sound strange framed that way, and while English tends to laugh the whole thing off, Jobson maintains it isn't something ordinary people are really in a position to judge. Their world is simply too far removed from everyday life to compare.